Good day and welcome to the 2025.08 August release notes video. A number of items here, but quite frankly, not many changes. So it's going to be a quick video, I have a feeling. We'll get started here at the bottom. Fix infrequent crashes caused by the background ping threads, blah, 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 legalese. Um, what's that's about is there was a new feature added a couple releases ago where you could actually have a status light here and a time, and I'll show you that. That's under File, Preferences. I think it's under Other. Yeah, so you can set it up here and says, I want to ping the controllers every 3 seconds, every 5 seconds, and it will update the status light here. What was happening is when you press to change permanently or change temporarily, it would basically uh, change it in the middle of doing the ping, so it would cause a background or cause a crash in xLights. So Dan fixed that. He caught that up. Um, Another thing here, kind of hard to demo, but if you open up an XSQZ file specifically in Windows, it opens up your show folder, but it was leaving all those files behind in your temp space. Unless you're a Windows savvy person, you probably didn't realize this, but if you went to the temp directory, you would see that the show folders were still there. This change makes sure that it's removed when you close that temporary sequence that you opened up. So there's that. Um, Pierre and myself did some tweaks on the ability to move effects up and down. Let me create a new sequence, animation. What was happening was if there was an effect in the way, you couldn't move it down. So that's been corrected here. Hopefully I can show you that. There you go. So that's all good now. See, it looks like a happy face. All good. Um, Fix a check for the X backup file. So normally what happens is you have a preference. Again, let's go to File, Preferences, and it says I want an auto backup, probably under sequences, auto save, 3 minutes. So every 3 minutes, if there has been a change, only if there's been a change, will it create a new file in your show folder with the extension BKP. So it essentially copies your sequence, in this case, this one here. Ideally, you have saved it once so it has a name, and then it will create that sequence.bkp. So then when you reopen xLights, if it finds out that the BKP file is more recent than the XSQ file, it will offer the option to restore that one. So it's thinking that you crashed or you walked away, you closed xLights without saving it. So it's asking you whether or not you want to restore that version. This is a feature that always was there, but it was broken as of, oh gosh, last year sometime. Anyway, so that small correction there and it's fixed it up. So now you're going to see that once again when you open up a file, if the BKP file is more recent. And I noticed that just as I'm doing this, that in the documentation it calls it a BKP file. I put in the notes an XBKP file. I'm just going to verify that what it is. It's one or the other. I'll correct either the README or the screen, but it's one or the other. Pretty obvious. Um, Fix some issues with the match size. So this specifically is with custom models. There was a rounding error. So if you had, let me go to the layout. If you have multiple, say, singing bulbs, you click a couple, you right click and you resize and you match size. There was a rounding error, so it would actually be off by a decimal place or two. So we corrected that rounding error, and it's now going to be exactly what you're expecting. We also corrected the depth. It was not setting the depth because, quite frankly, when the resize was done, they didn't really have a depth, and we didn't worry about it. But now that we have this 3D layouts, it's been in there for a number of years now. We've gone back and corrected that so that it matches the depth as well. If the depth is not set, say you've got props that are really old, I would advise you to set the depth to like 1 inch or a one or something. Don't leave it as some crazy number. I don't know if there's any impact, but it just does, to me, it doesn't feel right. So just set it to a one. Um, Hinks picks. Joe Hinkle made a change on how his firmware handles universes. So he's got a whole video and a whole session on how that is set. But Scott had to correct or change how we handle it in the visualizer. So if you are in the visualizer you might get a warning that says your pixel count was way over the normal amount since Joe Hinkle made his change. Well, that was actually just the way the visualizer was calculating the pixels based on the universe per string. So Scott has gone and corrected that, so you shouldn't find any issues there. Be sure and follow along on the Joe Hinkle's videos to know how to handle the Hinks picks and going forward. You do want to be on the latest xLights and you do want to be on the latest HinksPix firmware. And for those HinksPix users that are watching these videos, you probably are being faced with a firmware upgrade hang up on your devices. Short and sweet is you need to get the firmware, put it on an SD card, and reboot and get updated on your firmware. Otherwise, it'll hang on boot. So just reach out, reach out to them or check for the videos on that. Image effect. Somebody had found that the um, an image when it has an alpha background, like a transparent background, it would give a purple ring around the object, and that's been corrected. I think I might have the test image here. Let me just see. I'll uh, put it on here. I think. Click browse. Images. Click on there. Yep. Kansas City Royals. Kansas City Royals. Yeah, baseball team. Yep. Shows you how much I know. And for this, because we don't want to see it all on the entire thing, we want to change it to per model default, and we should see it on a matrix, I'm guessing. Per model default. Oh, and in this case, well, first of all, you can't see the purple ring, so that's a good sign. And I want to change this to be scale to fit. There you go. So it's going white because of these guys below here. So let me just get rid of those. Getting confused, mixing. So the original image prior to the bug would show a purple or a pinkish border around it for the alpha uh, images. So that's been corrected. Fix a crash importing models. This was an issue where the models, if they had a number inside of the submodel, I introduced a bug when I was trying to fix another issue, and we've gone back and corrected that, so we should be fine there. Fix proxy support for ES Pixel Stick uploads. Dan's done that. Um, I think ES Pixel Sticks, I believe, they just added the proxy option on the firmware side of things. So Dan had to correct it so that xLights supported that. So in case you have a Pixel Stick sitting on the backside of a FPP device, for example, on a show network. A small change in controller names. We found that there was an edge case that if you had a controller name, up here's the controller name. If you had a controller name with a colon in it, we saw somebody that did this :1. It looks innocent enough, but it would break things on the layout because on the layout we'd put the controller name : channel name, so it was causing an issues there. So what we did is just disallowed you putting the colon in there, and you'll find that it goes red to alert you of the condition. All right. Dan did some last minute changes here to address FPP Connect speed times. And if you hit FPP Connect, we don't want to see the sequence. We're finding that the times here are maybe half the time. He's tweaking the timeouts involved and the concurrency of it all so that it finds it quicker. And the thinking is you're going to be doing FPP Connect quite frequently to upload your sequences, and it should be fairly quick and responsive now. And while we're here, there was a small change here just to clean up the type here. So if there's a FPP device that's perhaps in your controller list, but it's offline, it'll now say unavailable. Before it used to say unsupported / unavailable, and that was a little bit confusing for folks. So instead, it's going to say unavailable. If it does find it and it's a pre-version 7, it will say unsupported. I don't suppose we have too many unsupported ones anymore, but that is been cleaned up. And so we go back to Keith made a change here that allows you to create submodels from states and faces. So just demo that for you. Cancel here, go to the layout. pick something that's got states. I know my gnomes have states, so go there, click on the gnome. He said create submodels from states and faces. So let's go there. We go to the import. He's added the two options here, import from state, import for face. And you can say, I want to import this state. So it's going to grab the whatever you want here. It's going to grab those elements from the state so it knows what pixels to show in here. So I'm thinking you might want to do this if you don't want to use this state, for example, but you actually want to code to it in the show or in your sequence. Now you'll have that option. You'll see the um, you'll see those items in the sequencer. Okay, there you go. And that distinction. Okay, I already talked about that. Distinguish between unsupported and unavailable. We've done that. Dan has made a change to FPP9 that it now supports up to 5 matrices. So for that to take place, the corresponding change in xLights is you should see in FPP, if I go to one of my FPPs and I go to visualize, you should see now that you have the option to drop in 5 different panels. Now, I haven't tested this because I don't have an FPP9 up and running at this point, but I'm assuming if you were to drop in 5 panels here and try to push to a FPP version 8, it's going to throw an error of some sort. So even though there's 5 listed here, it will only work if you're on FPP9 or greater. And there's a number of new devices. It's the time for new devices. So let's go back through the list here. Dan and the xLights guys have released 2 new controllers. So what does that mean? That means over on the controller tab here, you're going to have new options under vendor and model, right? So you're going to see now availability for the xLights to have the K16 and the K16 Pro. Be sure to visit xLights to see their new product offerings. Yeah. Scott has added the support for Your Pixel Store's new Vivid 8 controller. Be sure and visit Your Pixel Store to see that one. And I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the guy. I think it's a Bill, but I could be wrong. Has added the Baldric 17 controller. So again, you would find that under the Baldric. I think it's under iLight That personally. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, there it is. So it's in Baldric. It's under the iLight That as a vendor. So they're in there as well. Scott has added serial uploads for SAN device controllers. I don't really know what that means. Sorry, Scott, but I think it has. I know the SAN devices you guys are working on speeding up the ability to upload to those controllers, whether they're zips or whatever. And I'm guessing what that means is if there's a serial device, i.e., if you went to the visualizer, I don't have one, but maybe on the Falcon you can see if you have a serial port. I'm assuming that means that you can upload that to a SAN device now. Um, uh, Added a what we like to call useless feature of the day, the ability to remove the shimmer. So if you inadvertently added a bunch of shimmer to your sequence, so a shimmer, remember, is timing track. So let's create a timing track, and I'm going to put in Merry Christmas. Click OK. I'm gonna break down the phrases. And I'm just going to extend this just for the sake of extending it. And I'm going to say break down the words. So this will be the phonemes that make the singing element sing. Adding a dash shimmer will give that, I guess it's what we call the vibrato. I'm not a musician, but I think that's what that means. So if you wanted to make the AI shimmer, you can add the shimmer. So you can see it adds the shimmer. So that makes the vibrato. And now you have the option to right click and remove shimmer. You can also, in both cases here, you could highlight a bunch of elements. It doesn't have to be consecutive. Maybe you have another one. You can say add the shimmer, and then similarly, you can highlight the elements and say remove shimmer, so it'll remove it from the group. All right, not not a big change there, but it's somebody asked for it, and it was easy enough to do, so we put it in. Store and restore the last directory used for imports. Just a minor convenience item here. So when you say import effects, it used to grab the last folder that you used in xLights, whereas why not just save the last folder where you store all of your sequences? So now, once you choose your import folder here, it'll remember it. So next time you come in, it'll be in that same import folder because chances are you put your imports all into a other sequences folder or a zip folder or maybe your downloads, which is probably not the best place. But now it will remember where you put it. Allow preview edits in 3D mode. Not sure why this was never implemented back in the day, but it didn't seem to break anything, so we went and put it in. Um, Up until recently, you couldn't even change the preview on 3D. So yeah, I'm in 3D here, obviously, and you can choose previews basically to filter out some of your props. One thing I've done, and personally I've done, is on the control. I've created one called controllers. And this is where if I zoom in, I have a receiver here, I have a receiver here, I have a power injection here. So I have all of these elements, okay? So that's how I've done it for there. Now, default will not show them, they're not there, but I can go to all models and it will show up there. So that's how you can use this as a filter option. But going back to what this change allows you to do. What this change allows you to do is actually update this. Before you had to go out of 3D to 2D and then change it. Well, you don't need to do that. Now you can go to your object here, go down to the preview, and I want to move it to the default, for example, and it will go into default. So if I went to default, I just changed what power injection one. I should see one of them there. There it is right there. So you can see quickly that it went to that folder. Um, that one here, let me go put that on the controllers, and then I'll go to this one here and stick that on the controllers. Those are just previews, and you'll see they disappear from this. But of course, if I go to controllers, you can see them there. If I go to all models, you can see them there. Some people, just a reminder, some people may have unassigned where you might hide things. Oop, there's a good, always a good check, right? I can see I have an unassigned here, so let me fix that one up. I just found a issue with mine. So it says unassigned. I can stick that in controllers. So you can go and see that. Sometimes you use that to hide things that you maybe you're not going to use this year, and you just mark them as unassigned. So that's just a quick way to put them in the background. Anyway, that is it for 25.08. Quite frankly, personally, I'm slowing down on changes because I don't want to break your stuff going into the season. So expect just to see minor updates going forward. No groundbreaking things, hopefully, unless we see a big need for it. But enjoy the latest release. Be sure and like and support and all that jazz on these videos. Come on over to the Zoom room on Wednesday nights. We have the Zoom room class at 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, see you in the Zoom room. Have a great day.